Hello and welcome to the Total Truth Show. I'm Aldwyn, Altuney from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And my name is Ken Kleinberg, and I'm coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego County, California.
And I'm Elizabeth Jean Gagnon, also known as Miss Liz, and I'm all the way in Canada.
Today, we are going to be chatting about the truth about your TEA. What is TEA, you may ask? We'll find out right after this short introduction.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show, hosted by myself, Ken Kleinberg from San Diego County, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And our goal here on this show is to help you to break away from the mainstream media propaganda and lies, the disinformation and misinformation that's out there in the mainstream, and really help you to start questioning everything and start doing the research for yourself. We want to punch through all of that disinformation and misinformation. Our goal here is to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass and then pave the way for a new awakened civilization. And we would love for you to come along for the ride. Don't take our word for it. The things that we share here on the show, that goes for our guests too. Start doing the research for yourself. Start going and asking the questions for yourself. Get out there and really find the real truth behind things. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Oh, yes. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. We are covering America, Australia, and Canada today with this show. So cool. And our phenomenal guest we have today, Elizabeth Gagnon, otherwise known as Miss Liz. She is a renowned international co-author, self-published author, keynote speaker, and the visionary behind Miss Liz's Tea Time and Parties. She's a passionate advocate for mental health, for abuse, grief, and peace for humanity, using her own experiences as a survivor of extreme abuse to inspire and empower others. Welcome aboard, Miss Liz.
Well, thank you guys for having me. And I love that we're in 3 different countries because we just reach a larger audience, right?
Oh, it's fantastic. Absolutely love it. And my amazing co-host, of course, Ken Kleinberg. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. Yeah, so I'm looking a little wintry here. I know for you, Aldwyn, it's summertime, so that's interesting. Summertime over there, it's winter over here. So yeah, it's interesting. And Liz, I know it's winter for you.
It's nasty cold out there.
Got it. Well, at least you can have drinks by the fireplace. That's what I always like in cold weather. Wonderful. Now, I'm fascinated by your story here. Now, we also are very passionate about, inspiring more truth and good news in the media to help decrease depression and suicide rates. Something very close to my heart, having had depression and having had 4 friends take their own lives by the age of 45. So I started a Good News Day on the 8th of the 8th, 18. Also, we have a global good news challenge that happens every single month, and I know Ken has done it, sharing gratitude and good news. So what is your story, Miss Liz, around your background of abuse? Could you share with us, please?
Well, my story started at the age of 4, and that's when my tea started at the age of 4 as well. So you'll get to understand that later on in the show, how the TEA all comes apart and how we all have a TEA. Ken has one, Aldwyn, you have one, all of the listeners have one, and we're going to get them engaged and we're going to get their teas as well tonight. We're going to get the audience rolling and moving. So you're going to see it's a different flow of tea. I don't serve a beverage. I serve teaching, educational awareness. So what we do is we bring the teaching of the past, the education of the present, and the awareness of the future. It's a time travel. So my story started at the age of 4. I was sexually molested by my uncle and re-offended at the age of 12 and became pregnant and lost a daughter to stillborn. Then I was sold at the age of 18 by my father for $2 to my ex-husband, and was domestic violence for 16 years. So I am an advocate for speaking and bringing awareness to a lot of different types of abuse. Also abandonment and neglect from my parents, psychological abuse as well, mental, physical, sexually abused. So I give a voice of spill the tea and spill it loud and clear. Teach your past, and from the past we teach. We don't stay in it, we stay on it. It's like putting a tea bag in a cup of water. When you put that tea bag in the cup, it just gets stronger and bitter and really stale, right? So it gets really strong. You can't even drink it to the point if you just keep it in there. So you got to take that tea bag out. So you got to take the pain out. You got to take the abuse out, and you have to move forward. You have to move into the present, right? So my story is a story that a lot of people are like, wow, how are you doing what you're doing today from everything you've gone through? And my biggest message is I don't give anybody what I was given in my life.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And some people have been abused. They've gone completely off the rails. They've become drug addicts, or they've become suicidal, etc. How did you move through that, navigate that?
I've been through a lot. I live with conversion disorders, so my body shuts down from time to time. It's also known, if you Google it, conversion disorder, it's known as crazy, in the head, mentally, attention seekers and stuff like that. But my body just physically shuts down from time to time. And there's days I can't speak, I can't walk, I can't see correctly. So it affects the nervous system, right? Because of the trauma over trauma after trauma. So I've had my call outs to end my life. Like I've tried suicide 9 times. And I just got to the point where I looked up and I said, I guess you don't want me either. So I'm just going to stay here and figure it out, right? And how do you figure it out? Well, you start healing yourself. You start letting go and releasing and forgiving for yourself and carrying on and being that voice for others.
There's a course I did called Landmark Education, and they talk about something happens in life and we make it mean something. Did you ever have feelings of that when what was happening to you, that you made it mean something about yourself?
Yeah. I think my awakening was at the age of 40 when I started Miss Liz's tea parties. It started in my home. I had a tea party for friends, because I never had friends growing up because I was always moving around. There was so much abuse, right? It was hush hush. If anybody found out there was abuse, well, then we move again. We move. We move. So at the age of 40, I finally started making friends, and I threw this tea party. And one of the ladies that was at my tea party, she said, "Can you do this in the community? Like, this is really fun. Like, we don't do this." Because I had like the whole different menus and everything, like different little cookies and treats and different flavored teas and stuff. Like, I like pairing. I'm really creative when it comes to that stuff. And the tea is actually what saved me, is because I always did that loop. I went into the rabbit hole when I was being abused, right? I did that Alice in Wonderland. If I just go into a different land, it'll go away, right? So that's where my story kind of takes like the loops and twists and turns and that. But I would have to say at the age of 40, Aldwyn, that it was just like, okay, we got to move forward. We got to do something here.
And did you do any personal development or any courses to help you through that?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I've done counseling for the last 32 years. So, and I also joined networks where I can be that advocate and voice. So I'm a part of the CANA network in Cornwall here. So it's the Community Abuse Network Against Abuse. And I work with the police department, Children's Aid Society, victim services, all of that stuff. And I'm that voice of the survivor of how do we fix the services? How do we get more survivors to these services, right? Or get them aware of these services.
And do you find it's an ongoing battle for you, no matter how much personal development work you've done, that there's still moments that you have, times that you're really challenged by your past or what's happened?
Absolutely. There's moments when I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I serving tea? Like, why does the tea have to matter? Why? I've tried it different ways and it doesn't work. It only works with the tea. When I start serving and understanding that the past is not defining me, and the E is educating me to get educated and seek resources. So when I have my struggles and I have my hard times, I can get out there and say, okay, I know of these services. Let me reach out. let me ask for help. You know, so the tea is what saved me, and it saves a lot of people. I've done this for 5 years, and we're going in our 5th year with tea, but I've started tea time in 2015. So, and I see the impact on the lives that it's changing by just talking about the 3 letters. You tell your story through 3 letters. So I do see the question, what is tea? Well, your tea is the past, the present, and future. So what 3 words would you give for your tea? So for me, it's teaching, education, awareness. On other days, it's transformation, empowerment, and action. It's the 3 letters. Start using words. We can actually start saving lives as well. Children's lives, if they're in classrooms, what is your tea today? How are you going to be today? So if a kid says, I'm going to give you trouble for the tea, well, you know, the teacher is prepared to say, oh, okay, we got something coming today, you know? And then if we get something with emotions, well, we know somebody's sensories, like the sensory is high or low, you know? So we can start using words, and children can say abuse without saying what the abuse is. Just by saying abuse, then all of a sudden the alert is there, right? The prevention is there because this child is using that one word to say, pay attention, listen to me. I can't tell you what's going on, but I can tell you the word abuse, you know? So then you can pull that child aside, or you can pull that adult aside and say, like, do you need help? Are you in danger? Like, you know, instead of a big sentence or a big paragraph, you're giving 3 words and you're saving lives. It's like the metaphor of time travel. We all have a past, we all have a present, and we all have a future. So we all have a story. We all have a tea.
Yeah, I love that. I really love transformation, education, and action. That's the 3 words for me. Melinda Fitzpatrick, thank you for that question there. I'm sure others are wondering, what does this TEA mean? Of course, there's drinking tea, but also the TEA stands for things. And it's interesting, as you're sharing, I was thinking about the movie Sound of Freedom that I saw recently. And, you know, Sound of Freedom, an extraordinary movie. It was made actually 5 years ago, and there were all sorts of blocks to getting this film out. It was all about human trafficking and about child sexual abuse. And it's $150 billion business is human trafficking. It absolutely blows me away. And if you haven't seen Sound of Freedom, I highly recommend check it out, support this movie, because the more awareness we raise about this, the more we say this is not okay. There's so many bloody pedophiles out there that are absolutely, you know, got some serious mental issues. You know, children are not meant to be played with in that way. You know, it's just not. It's not on, and we need to be more of a stand. And unfortunately, a lot of people who find themselves in these situations feel hopeless and helpless to do anything about it. And you know, some of these kids are like 5, 6 years of age. And in Sound of Freedom, they showed footage where kids are actually being snapped up off the street. They actually have 2 guys on motorbikes working in tandem, and the guy at the front, you know, driving the motorbike, the one at the back just snatches a kid off the street, and then they put them into these areas where they basically sell them off to very wealthy, usually Western people for, you know, for child pedophilia. And we know the elite do this as well. We know there's a lot of, you know, the whole Pizzagate thing that came out with the Clinton files with Julian Assange. You know, we know there's a lot of pedophilia going on out there, and a lot of very sexually sick people that are, you know, taking advantage of those who are, you know, less able to support themselves, and it needs to stop. We need to be a stand for this, and we need to support movies like Sound of Freedom. What are some other things we can do to help end human trafficking and child sexual abuse?
Well, we can be more alert. We can have that conversation with our children as well. If they see signs in classrooms, you know, sometimes children are being taken from foster care services and being transported to a different community, especially if the parents are incarcerated, because these parents are not coming out, so they can put these kids wherever they want, right? There's a lot of dark secrets and a lot of dark markets out there. Sound of Freedom's touched on it maybe 2%. Only 2%. So
Right.
we need to start talking about the other organizations out there as well. I worked on many boards and directors around the globe. I was a director for AHRI, who was for rape and accuracies against women in Bangladesh, and child marriages and stuff like that. I've been pushing to get child rights out there. because even in Canada, I was offended. I was really not offended, but I was really upset to find out that there was child marriages in my country. There is 2% of child marriages in Canada that no one speaks of. 2% of Canada is large. It might sound like a small number, but you do all the math, all the numbers of all of the provinces together. That's a lot of kids that are being sold by their parents because it's parental guidance that is signing over. And usually it's for money. So they'll sign their children over at the age of 14 for child marriage in Canada. United States is also a huge child marriaging. There's some some states that allow child marriage. So there's a lot of things that are still hush hush. Like, we need to start having that voice. We need to start speaking up. We need to start bringing the awareness. And the best way to make changes is get involved. Get into the programs, get into if you want to be a good change maker and you want to make a difference for your community and your country, get out there and volunteer. You don't need to be paid to make a difference. Volunteer and see the difference that you'll make.
Yeah, I love that. And actually today, straight after this interview, I'm actually going up to Logan Hyperdome, and I'm actually involved in a fashion parade that Moana Robinson is putting together for a group called Safe Haven. And Safe Haven is an amazing place that supports community-based temporary accommodation for women at risk of domestic abuse. It offers an environment to help them be free from fear, physical, financial, emotional, verbal, sexual, or spiritual abuse. And so this is a charity thing I'm involved with today with a few other amazing ladies. And, just something as simple as that, which people watching this now, if you're in the Southeast Queensland area, it's happening at Logan Hyperdome at Safe Haven Centre, which you can see all the details on my Facebook, 3 till 6 p.m. today. So in a few hours from now, we're going to be out doing this fashion parade, helping those who've had domestic violence. And that's a whole other situation as well, right? There's so many forms of abuse and violence. And I mean, it's absolutely shocking to think that parents will sell their own children for money because they're that desperate. And I guess they wouldn't do it unless they were absolutely desperate. And so how can we get to the source of the issue and help with this desperation? What are your thoughts on this, Ken?
Well, the first thing that I want to touch on here is I definitely think Miss Liz is correct with the movie only covered 2% of it. Now, personally, I have not seen the movie yet. And it's not because I don't want to see the movie or anything like that. It's because I pretty much already know what it's all about and what's in that movie. And so it's kind of been it's been a little bit of a low priority, but I definitely do think that for those who are unaware of what's going on out there in the world, it is definitely for you. That movie needs to be seen for you. But let me touch on the 98% or attempt, because I'm not going to be able to cover all 98%, because I'm sure there's probably things that I don't even know about. What I do know about, though, touching on part of the 98% that's left, is I know about underground tunnels where the kids are in some cases never see sunlight, ever see sunlight. So I know about that as well. What I also know is that there is behind the scenes, whether you want to realize it or not. This may create a little cognitive dissonance for some of you guys. What I also know is there is a very large Luciferian movement that goes on behind the scenes, that does child sacrificing, that does all of this torturing of kids, that harvests, it's called adrenochrome, and they get that out of kids' blood by scaring them to shit, like scaring them like crazy. Like, I don't even know how to put a title on that. They just traumatize the children and get them in such a state of traumatization that I don't know how the chemical makeup of the body works and how this adrenochrome is produced in the body, but it produces this hormone in their body, which then is extracted and actually used in various different forms. Anti-aging is one of them. And so there's that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, do the research for yourself. You can look up adrenochrome, and if you dig deep enough, you're going to find some very horrifying things. I mean, so that again is like diving a little bit deeper into what's really going on with this child trafficking out there, and that there's groups of people that will take kids down in some deep dark place and traumatize them so that they can produce this hormone. And it's absolutely sick what they do. I was recently watching another short documentary around well, I might as well say it was around the truth on what's really going on in Israel. And they've got like a small portion part in that documentary where it shows what they do during these sacrifice movements, these sacrificial things. So it's anything from children, from adults to, I can go down a big rabbit trail with this, but I kind of want to keep it concise. But that's just some of the ways. Adoption centers, these adoption centers and wherever else they go to, these kids go to until they can find foster parents or regular parents for the kids. A lot of times some of these kids are just falling through the cracks easily and get trafficked out of these adoption centers and stuff, and disappear forever. And so that's just another angle and just way of like bringing like, here's how deep this goes. And it goes even deeper than that. There's things I won't discuss here on the show that I do know about that no. But anyhow, so there you go.
Yes, thank you, Ken. And we've got Lawrence King here. Hello, Lawrence. Lawrence has been on our show before. He says, hey, Aldwyn, do men have shelters as well? Because a lot of women also abuse men and drive them crazy. And that is absolutely correct. In fact, I was emceeing for a place called The Sanctuary here on the Gold Coast quite a few years ago. And it was a shelter for women and for pets who have been abused. And I actually mentioned, as the MC, I mentioned that also guys do get abused too. Absolutely, it happens. And, the guys, there was only about 5 guys in the audience, but they all came up to me afterwards and they said, thank you for mentioning that, because absolutely this goes both ways. And I always say hurt people, right? Hurt people. And there are some very much hurting people out there. And yes, there are many men's shelters. I just did a quick Google. They're all over the place. And thank goodness more men are coming to support other men as well. And I think women also, a lot of women are supporting these men's groups as well, because for a long time, men didn't speak up about things because they guys kind of feel sometimes that they have to look like they've got it all together. And this is why we have some of the highest suicide rates are actually men in their 40s, believe it or not, because they just, it's important for men to have, the men's circles like women have the women's circles. I think it's very, very important. And if you go right back to the beginning of time, this is what happened. The guys went out hunting together. The women went out gathering the fruit, and then they came back in circle around the fire and they celebrated and danced and ate and, etc. And so I think it's very important for guys to have guy time and women to have women time. So Miss Liz, I'm curious about your tea parties. Can you tell us more about that, how they work?
Well, the tea parties, they stopped when COVID came, right? Because we had to do different guidelines, different protocols. You have to take a lot of courses and that, because I'm serving food, right? So you got to go through the health unit and stuff like that. And so the community tea parties have closed down, but what we're doing is the virtual. But what I'm doing now is I'm doing the podcast, and I'm also doing community work and outreach through my guests and that. So what I'm doing is I'm collaborating with my guests as well. So when they come on to tea time, it's not just an interview, it's also collaboration. How can we connect? How can we build a stronger tea together, right? It's like, how do we get a stronger tea party going? How do we keep the flow going? And the word spill the tea, change it from gossip to good news. We need to start looking that life is messy, right? So when you make a mess, you spill your tea, you got to clean it up. You got to heal yourself. But society has spilled the tea as gossip out there. So as soon as you hear spill the tea, people are like, oh, well, what's the gossip? What's the latest? Like who's doing this and who's doing that? That's not what spill the tea is when you come to my table. Spill the tea is bringing awareness to different people of all walks of life, from homelessness to Hollywood A-listers to trainers to domestic violence survivors to children. My youngest guest I had on Tea Time was 12 years old, and he talked about the educational system when COVID came, how the kids felt. I got the kids' point of view of them coming in and out, going online courses, back to class, not out of class. It was a lot of dysfunction, and it caused a lot of mental health issues for children that we're not talking about. So what I do with my guests is I bring them on the podcast, and I get them to share why they do what they do. And I have all walks of life, and I do a lot of diversity guests on, because we need to understand that everybody matters. Not one life means more than the next. We all matter. We all have a story. We all have gone through something. We all have overcome something. So we need to start supporting one another. And that's what a tea party is. A tea party is connection. It's gathering. It's supporting. It's like going to grandma's house and saying, Grandma, I got good news for you. I got married. I'm having a baby. I graduated from school. So the guests are actually celebrating, writing a book, creating programs, creating foundations, movements. So there's all walks of life on Tea Time. And when they come on, I ask them what their tea is. And not everybody gives me the TEA, and that's okay, because tea is not meant to be the same. We're not here to do a trend. We're not here to do the following. You might be serving a different type of tea. I had a guest on, and the guest had said uncover, rediscover, and no, what was it? Uncover, discover, and recover was his tea. So see, there's no TEA, but it's still 3 words. It's still the movement of the transformation of his story. So he transformed through the past, the present, and the future. And it's all leading to the future. We're all going to time travel, no matter who we are. It doesn't matter who we are, young, old. We all are born. We all die. We all have a life story to tell. And that's what tea is. When we start understanding that we all have a tea within ourselves, then when the journey of humanity comes alive, and we start supporting one another, and we start understanding why there's so much corruption, why there's so much hate, why there's so much shame, why there's so much guilt, because we're not living our true authentic selves. We're living through the society and the programming that we're being told to do.
Yeah, I love that. And I must say, while you're talking about tea, I'm thinking about coffee, because I love coffee. So, do you do little coffee parties as well?
and that's what I tell everybody, Owen, as I say, because people say, like, Miss Liz, I don't even like tea. And I'm like, you can have a beer if you want. I don't care, because it's not about the beverage. It's about what's within us, right? So if you like a coffee, drink coffee. But we got to start sharing words, and words matter. Words hurt us as well, because bullying is done with words. But we can make an impact. We can make a change when we start using words, positive words. So when I say teaching, education, awareness, there's nothing negative in that. When I say transformation, empowerment, and action, there's nothing negative in that. So let's start using positive stuff to tell our stories, and let's start standing on our stories, not in them. Get the tea bag out of the cup. It's strong enough. You're strong enough already.
Yeah, I love that. Although I do like a strong chai, and usually I do leave my tea bag in there for a
that is good. Well, we can do the different types of teas too. Like, there's so many different flavors, right? And there's so many ways of serving tea in different countries, different areas. Like in Australia, you guys drink the billy tea, because that's in my book, my book.
Yes.
And when I first heard about the billy tea, I was like, okay, what is that now? And it's from the eucalyptus tree, the gum tree. If anybody wants to know about that, we can educate ourselves through tea. We can learn about countries and fun facts, and why do people serve tea differently? Like, I had one person send me a tea that they put butter in their tea, and I'm like, butter? So I was like, oh, I don't know. I like my butter, but I was like, I don't know about my tea and butter. But I did try it, and it's actually really good.
Oh, amazing.
So it's really good with spice cake. So you want to do black coffee with it, just a little bit of butter, It sweetens up it a bit, and then you have spiced cake, and it's really good. So the two pairings go together.
Yeah, that's so true. And in Turkey, they love their tea in the little cups, those little glass cups. They in Turkey, and it's quite a tradition every morning to have their strong little tea, and then usually straight after that they're having coffee as well. Coffee, and that keeps you up for about 8 hours. That's my heritage, Greek, Turkish, Ukrainian. We love our little strong coffee and strong tea, so nothing's done in halves in the Mediterranean. It's just all straight in there.
And I'm forgetting, what country is it that does the little pinky thing with their tea?
Oh, that's England.
That's right.
Oh, England. That's that Mike Myers.
And there's a story behind the pinky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I don't remember what it is at the moment, but there is a story behind the pinky, and it's an encouragement of good news or something, because you're lifting to go forward. So you're moving. It's like an ankle, right? You're moving forward as you're sipping.
That's interesting.
There you go. Oh, well. And it's interesting, with English people, they always like, do you want a cup of tea? You want a cup of tea and a bun? Whereas you go to a European place and they're like, you want the whole smorgasbord. Here's that, you're not leaving until you're absolutely full.
You're eating the whole tray.
It's like, you're too skinny. Come on, eat.
But that's what I mean. But when you use the word tea, Aldwyn, you automatically have the connection of the mind, right? Because they automatically go to this. They go to a cup of tea. And it gets them connected. And that's what I do, is I connect through the word of tea. And then I get the feedback. Well, Miss Liz, I don't drink tea. I don't like tea. Okay, so we'll have a discussion on a different type of tea. But you're still coming for tea time. Because it's tea time, and the tea is, we're serving ourselves and we're taking the time to listen to the other person.
Yeah, I love that. And the Asians, of course, love their bubble tea, and there's like a million different varieties of bubble tea, and so it's fascinating, the different types of tea. I never really thought about it that much about, it really is quite a fascinating journey through the cultures of how they do their tea. It's such a it's such a common denominator, isn't it? It's kind of like music and dance is the universal languages, and so is tea. Everyone has their tea or their coffee, right? Fascinating. Wow, I love this. Very cool. And Liz, I must say, you seem very empowered nowadays, which is awesome. And, they say that everything happens for us, not to us in life. And sometimes you think, well, some of these things are absolutely atrocious that have happened to children. However, some people will make it through and some people won't. Some people will end up, very bitter and twisted because of what happened, and some people will turn that around and actually do positive things in that area where they've had some kind of abuse. And there's a great saying that everything happens for us, not to us. Everything happens for us, not to us. And so when we hear that, that actually gives you a place of power to stand from, that you can actually take some responsibility, even though you may have had nothing to do with it as such, but universally, consciously, everything happens for us. So if we believe that everything happens for us and we are going to be constantly dealt challenges in life, because that's just how life goes, there's constant sort of cannonballs that can come at any time where we're challenged by things. And I believe that when we have a challenge, that it's something that firstly, we're not given challenges too big that we can't handle, I believe. And the second thing is, when we move through that, and when we that's usually when we get the biggest learnings in life, and normally where we turn our pit into our purpose. They say, or turn our mess into our message, right? Often you'll see the reason people do what they do is because they've experienced something in that area. Like I shared about that I've had depression. I've had 4 friends take their own lives. And so here we've started the Global Good News Challenge. We've got the Good News Day. And in another area, I've seen a lot of animal cruelty over the years. So there's no coincidences. I saw a lot of animal cruelty, starting with seeing a sheep that I befriended in Turkey at 6 years of age have its throat cut in front of me. That happened at 6, and I lost a lot of my innocence at that point. However, I fueled, later in life, I fueled and turned that anger for what happened into a great cause, which is the Animal Action Day. And we just recently had our 17th annual Animal Action Day. In fact, last weekend, It's about awareness, appreciation, and respect for animals. So it's a day that we celebrate animals every year. We raise funds for different causes every year. And so that's the way, again, that I've turned my mess into my message, or my pit into my purpose. And so I do believe that, if we can just step back from a moment and not be the victim of our circumstances, and actually look at a way that we can actually look at this as a way to fuel maybe part of our mission and why we're here on the planet. I think that's a really great thing to do. We've got a Facebook user here. Listening to this program has been a real eye-opener for me. How much I remain hidden from the human atrocities that go on. Thank you for revealing and this exposing to this episode for me. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Facebook user. Please let us know your name. Pop in the comments so we can acknowledge you there. And for those joining us live, thank you so much for joining us. Please let us know where you're joining us from and what are you getting from this conversation so far. Let us know what you're getting, where you're from. I'd love to hear from you. This is an interactive show, our Total Truth show. And Ken and I were just sharing 48 episodes and we've never met each other. And such is the beauty of this technology, being able to reach people right across the world with this and to be able to share knowledge. In effect, this is kind of like a tea time right now, that we're sitting in circle, in a way, a virtual circle, in effect, where we are sharing our knowledge and our expertise and our experiences, so that, when we do share authentically, people do get something from it. They do get moved by it when we share from the heart. And I'm a big advocate for people sharing more from the heart, sharing your truth, and looking at how we can learn from all experiences. So what are some of the biggest learnings that you've had, Liz, with what's happened in your life?
The biggest, I've learned so much. I've really learned so much from my guests. Like, I appreciate each and every single one of my guests that come, whether they share a children's book or they share a foundation or a movement or a service that they provide. We learn from each other when we start listening to each other and we start opening the mind of understanding that there's different ways of learning, different ways of seeing things. You might look at abuse as one way and another person might look at it as another way. One thing that you've been saying, Aldwyn, is victim. We need to really remove that word from our vocabulary, because nobody goes out and says, okay, abuse me, okay, take me, okay, kidnap me. We're not giving permission to these abusers and predators to, take us. So we're survivors, we're warriors. We got to start standing up like the Vikings did in the 1800s, and fight for our lives and be that voice and be the voice for the voiceless. There are millions of children right now, as we're sharing this program, that are being taken, that are being abused right at this moment. And I want that to really sit in, because that's a strong T right there. What can we do with all of these children that at this very moment are being taken? We can use our voices on this platform. We can say, you know what? We know you're there. We know you're taking these kids. Guess what? We're not going to be quiet anymore. We're spilling a tea. We're spilling the truth. We're bringing the empowerment, and we're going to take some action towards you guys, because we're going to bust you all. That's how I serve tea. I don't play nice. I'm not a nice woman. I'm a kind lady. And I think we really need to start looking at the difference, because nice gets you walked on. Kind doesn't cost you a damn cent. It's free. It's freedom. You can make a difference right now. If you know of somebody that's being abused and you're scared to report it, how are you really making a difference in that child's life? How are you really making a difference in that woman's life, in that man's life? And I really like this, Lawrence King, who mentioned the men's shelters and that. I work with services and that, and there are not enough. Because what's happening is the women are coming in, and I'm a woman. We're coming in and we're saying we support you, but we're actually watching you. We're seeing, oh, well, how much are you going to share? How much are you going to, it's like that guard. I have a son, and I want my son to have the same services that his mother has. I want all the boys out there to have the same services that us women have, because there are crazy women out there that are abusing men, that are not taking the steps to get the help and heal themselves. And they're using this, I'm the woman, he's the man. This society is going to believe me over him. There are small women that are beating men that are 6 feet tall, that are 300 pounds, and they're maybe 110 pounds soaking wet. And they're beating these men. And these men are not going for services and help because they're scared to be judged by the society. How is that little woman doing all that to you? How, you know? So we really need to start being the voices, and we need to be that change. And this is why I wanted to come on this platform, is because of the title of your show. When I seen Ken's post, I was like, the total truth. We need to start getting truth out there. And the truth hurts. It's not nice. It's not easy. It's not simple. It's hard. You know, I used to do a show a couple years ago called The Truth Hurts. And people were like, oh, this is really, it really hurts. Well, yeah, guess what? Life hurts. But you got to take the Band-Aid off and you got to heal yourself.
Yes, and the truth will set you free. The truth will also set you free. So yes, you may speak your truth and some people may not like it, and that's okay, because you can be kind in speaking your truth and you can be like a velvet sledgehammer. And I totally agree with you what you're saying about nice versus kind, because, you know, I must say a lot of my life I've been way too nice. And lately I've been like, no, it's time to actually speak my truth, you know. Like I've got a client right now that I did some work for, and he's refusing to pay for the rest of the work that I've done, you know, and he's making up all sorts of excuses why he doesn't want to pay. It's like, no, this is not okay. This is not okay. I've done the work. I've done, in fact, more than enough, more than I promised, and you're being a complete dick about it. And you know, and it's just not okay. And so I've been like, I came through like a velvet sledgehammer. I'm like, this is what I've done. And now you're well overdue with your bill. And if you don't pay it by this date, I'm going to take further action. And I've had legal advice, and, you know, and so in the past, I probably would have just let it go. You know, I probably would have just let it go. But now it's like, no, this is not okay. I've done the work. I've done more than I actually promised. And you're refusing to pay and being a dick about it. Excuse the French. But, you know, it's like, no, this is not okay. And so I can, you know, it's like in the Karate Kid, right? You can be, you know, you can be focused. You can be powerful in your kindness. And in a way, that kindness is not being a walkover. Right? It's like, no, I'm not going to be a bloody walkover anymore. No more. Right? And for those listening to this, where in your life could you step up and speak up about something where, you know, you can, you know, channel that energy into being a stand for yourself, to showing your worth, because people will treat you how you allow them to treat you. People will treat you how you allow them to treat you. And I've been way too nice for way too long. And here publicly, I'm proclaiming no more, no more. And that's the thing. It's like that line in the sand, you know, that line in the sand is that this is not okay. And if you see something that is not okay and you don't speak up about it, then shame on you, really, right? I know I don't particularly want to shame anyone, but what I'm saying is, if you see something and you don't speak up about it, then, you know, you're as guilty as the person who's doing that. There's something we can all do. You can call an authority. You can take photos or videos of what's going on. You know, lately on the Gold Coast, like we just did a fundraiser for Aussie Wildlife, and there's been some brat kids, like 14, 15-year-old kids, that have been running over swans in the lake areas with their bloody dinghies, with the boats, right? So they're probably from some rich family, you know, on the water, and they're running over swans for fun and killing these swans and injuring these swans. And if people see that and don't do something about it, then you're as guilty as these people. Take photos and videos, get the footage, yell out to these kids, get out there in the water if you have to, push pull the swans aside, get them off the water. If, you know, there's so much we can do. Just get your hands dirty and get in there and be a stand for kindness, right? Be a stand for kindness, be a stand for, you know, saying this is not okay. And the problem is with the legal system, these kids are getting away with murder because they go, oh, they're underage. Oh, they're underage. Oh, they're just, you know, 15, 16. They're literally getting away with murder. And we need to say, this is not okay. This is not okay. We need to do something about it. And if we don't speak up, then nothing is going to change. So there you go. That's my rant on that. Ken, what have you got to say about this?
No, I agree. You know, there's a very, very simple saying out there. See something, say something. It's as simple as that. See something, say something. Gone are the days where we stay silent anymore. Gone are the days where, you know, gone are the days where we accept what mainstream is saying to us. Gone are the days where we just sit there and complacently accept these things. It is time to get back to where we used to be as an overall people. And where we used to be is when we saw something proclaimed out there in the mainstream media or whatever it is, We would then ask the questions. We would then go look at the data for ourselves. We would then go check this out and do the research for ourselves. Somewhere down the line, we just got complacent, and all of a sudden some celebrity comes out and says, oh, here's just an example. Oh, we should be on a plant-based, routine and diet and and they push this out there in the mainstream narrative. But do they show proof? Do they actually ask, or do they actually show you why? And the thing about it is that there needs to be an accountability nowadays with a lot of things, not just around food. I mean, I threw that out there as just an example. Truth be known, plant-based diets can be very destructive to your health and nutritional wise and different things like that. I'm not going to go into that whole thing, but I'm just using that as an example. It's got to be something to where it's like, oh, well, plant-based? Okay. Well, let me do some research on that. Let me go look at what the data is showing on that, and let me make my decision on my own. This is where we need to go to. So it's not just at the level of see something, say something. It's also at the level of start thinking critically again and stop just blindly just being what's the word I want to say? Stop blindly.
Complacent.
Huh?
Complacent.
There was another direction I was going. Just stop blindly riding with the waves. Look at what's, is another way of putting it. I mean, that's the best way. Open your eyes, start looking at things for yourself and speak up. If somebody is saying something or doing something and it's not morally right, speak up.
Absolutely. I did a Step Up, Speak Up challenge recently, actually. And for those who missed the 5-day challenge, I have a group you can join for free on Facebook called Step Up, Speak Up Challenge. And every day I am challenging you to step up and speak up about something. And I challenge you to share in that group, the Step Up, Speak Up Challenge group, to share in there what you're stepping up and speaking up about. And I'd love for the other people in the group to support whatever people are stepping up and speaking up about, because it takes courage. It takes courage, and we're not taught to step up and speak up as kids. We're taught to, in Australia, a lot of people taught to only speak when you're spoken to, and things like that. And we sort of shut down from a young age, and this is where it takes something to sort of break through that so-called glass ceiling, to smash that ceiling down and go, I am worthy. I am a human being on the planet. I have beaten 1 billion swimmers to get to the finish line, and my voice is worthy of being heard. My voice is worthy of being heard. And if I have something that's prompting me that I've been upset by or angered by, then it's a great opportunity to speak up about it in a kind, loving way, always coming from a kind, loving space. Lawrence says here, let the past serve the present. When life deals you lemons, make lemonade. I love that. Or make limoncello. Limoncello is also very nice, or make lemon tea. And I must say, I love lemon in tea. Back to the tea conversation, Liz. Now, what's your favorite tea, Liz?
Oh, it depends on my mood. But my all-time favorite tea is jasmine tea. And it's not about the taste. It's about the smell. It reminds me of my Oma, who gave me my tea at the age of 4. So it's about the memory of that tea. But overall, I have so many different, like chai tea is good, lemon tea, spice tea. I like tea, but I don't drink very much tea for being the tea lady. Like a lot of people give me tea and donate tea and stuff like that. I just like hearing the history and the story behind the teas. So like when somebody gives me a teacup or a teapot, I think back to who had that teapot first, who drank from that cup, how many people did it pass through, and that's what the tea party is the connection. It's a dot to dot. Like how many people drank from that one cup, how many people served a different party or a different event in their house with that tea set or that tea, so I'm not really a big tea drinker. I like trying different teas. I like cooking with tea. You can cook with tea. You can make muffins and cookies and all of that good stuff. You brew it. So instead of putting in water and milk, you're putting in tea liquids. So you're getting the different flavors. It's like putting lemon juice. Instead of putting lemon juice, you're putting in tea. So there's different flavors and different ways of serving tea, right? And that's what I do is I just use tea as a life flow of goodness. Like just turn it positive, make some cookies with tea, have a cup of tea, invite a friend over for tea. Like,
yeah. Great idea to have a tea party.
And make that connection. That's, I mean, I'm seeing that for sure. The tea, if you will, the liquid tea is actually really just a prop.
Yep.
In a sense, that's all it is. It's just a prop to open up the door for further connection, open up the door to dive deep, open up the door to your soul, if you will, open up the door towards, XYZ, you name it. The tea, really, the physical tea, the liquid is simply just a prop. Yep. It's almost like, I feel like saying here a quote from the movie The Matrix, there is no spoon.
Yeah, I love that. And tea is very comforting. It's very good for you to have some hot liquid through your body. I actually found it recently, if you have cold water or cold liquid, it's not good. And Ken, you probably know more about this, but could you share about that? What if you have a cold tea, iced tea versus a hot tea, the difference for your body?
Well, it's just like, I know that there's a lot of people out there. They love their ice cold water. They love their ice cold drinks. I mean, and there's a time and a place for that. But honestly, having something that's ice cold with your meal and eating that, it actually harms your digestive system, and it actually impairs your ability to digest your food properly and correctly. Interesting enough, our bodies actually do way, 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 way better with room temperature. And even heated stuff. Heated stuff is definitely better than the cold. Actually, and same goes for animals as well. There's some people that will feed their dogs ice cold water, thinking they're doing a good thing on a hot day. Ice cold water. It actually damages their intestines. It's not good. So just some food for thought with the ice cold thing. Again, there's a time and a place. If it's a hot day and you just want to relax and sit back and have an iced tea or ice water, great. Just try as much as possible not to do that around food, because ice cold and food on top of that, it's not meshing. That might be a revelation to some people listening today, but honestly, it's not good. And really, our bodies weren't necessarily designed to take in ice water.
Yeah, because our bodies are warm, right? With 37 degrees temperature. So our bodies are warm. So if we put cold liquid in, we've got to work harder. Our body has to work harder to actually warm up that cold liquid, which is interesting. And there is a certain comfort. There's a certain comfort that comes with a warm drink as opposed to a cold drink. Although a lot of people find this sort of connection when they have cigarettes together, or they drink beer together, or when they do similar things together, whatever it is. Although cigarettes are a lot, not as good for you, obviously, as drinking a hot drink. So there is something beautifully comforting about a cup of tea, I must say. And I love this whole analogy of the TEA. And so Liz, how could people bring more of this TEA action into their homes?
Well, we can do this worldwide, right? You can have the conversation, and the conversation is, what is your tea? And get people to use 3 words to describe. You're having family dinner. You're all at the table, and ask them, what is your tea today? And they can tell you how their day was at school, how their day was at work, how they feel about the dinner. Maybe they don't like the food, it's the meat is tough, and we can use different words, and we can take words and turn them into a positive reinforcement. So when we say the word tough, we think of different perspectives, right? A tough man, a tough piece of meat, a tough kid, a bully. When you use words, you can always tell somebody and give them the awareness too as well. So like if someone at the dinner table, if your child is going to school and they're being bullied and they say they had a tough day, well, maybe they were bullied that day. They were telling you that they were tough. I did this with my step granddaughter, and I asked her what her tea was when we were at the dinner table. And I said, So I said, "What is your tea today, sweetheart?" And she said, "Tigers eats apples." And my daughter looked at me and she said, "Mom, that's not a tea." And I said, "Yes, that is a tea. That is a strong cup of tea." I said, because tigers means that somebody's underestimating her, because tigers are always underestimated. Eating. She was eating. We were having dinner. She was in the presence. Apples, a new beginning. Something was coming. And something was coming. She was going into a new grade. School was coming. Like,
Mm.
so she was telling us her life, how she was feeling in the moment. And then I do that once in a while, and I'll just look at the kids when they're watching a movie. "What's your teeth?" "Oh, Mom." And I'll be like, "No, I want to know what it is." Like, and they're like, "Okay, Mom, do you want a lemon tea?" And I'll be like, "That's not the tea I'm asking for."
Ah, I love it. I love it.
But
It's so
it gives
fun.
you that open conversation, right? It
Yeah.
gets you to dialogue, gets you talking again. How many times are we on this? We're doing the phone, right? And we're just
Yeah.
ask them, text them, "What is your tea?" And they're going to be like,
Yes.
"What the heck are you talking about?" Well, you already started a conversation because they're answering you. They want to know what the heck tea is, right? It's like at the beginning of the show, the viewer asks, "What is the tea?" That started a conversation right away because it got us telling them what the tea is. So that's what it is. It's teaching educational awareness that conversation is needed in today's world. We need to
Yes.
start communicating. And by communicating, we're opening doors, we're opening avenues and change. We're changing the systems. Like Ken said earlier, we need to start what we see something, we say something. So if you're saying, "What is your tea?" You're
Yeah.
looking to see what the something is. So you're just reversing it. So you're saying something, but you're seeing something. So you're
Mm.
getting something. And it's good for parties, it's good for conventions, conferences. You go into a conference and you don't know anybody, you're a speaker or something, and don't know anybody, the audience. You ask them, "What is your tea?" And you break up the audience. You give that area the T, you give that audience that part the E, that A, and then you just get a bunch of words and you make fun out of it and you have a party. And that's how tea parties are done, right? You just
Oh, I
like
love
Ken said, the tea is just
It's
it's
a
just
prop.
a it's just a
It's a
prop to
prop
get
to
you going.
open things up. You know, and I'm going to take a moment here and speak to something. Some people in the audience may be like, "Well, I don't know about that," but hey, first of all, I'm going to start this and I'm going to preface this and I'm going to say, look, summer of 2020 was the biggest red pill that I have ever taken in my life. And some of you are just like, "Well, what's a red pill?" Well, I'm gonna reference you to go watch the movie The Matrix, and you'll understand what red pill is. But you know, and here's a hint on what I mean by that. I call the summer of 2020 the scamdemic. Here's my point in mentioning all this. My point in mentioning all this is basically look at what they did to people in the name of safety. In the name of so-called safety, with something that they created themselves the scare for, something that they created the fear for, something that they created. They created, sorry to say to some of you who don't know this, they created COVID. And then what they did is they created their own solution to it. Once you bought into the fear, once you were scared enough, once you had enough anxiety, they presented the solution in front of you. So you were already in a hypnotic state, if you will, through the fear, through the anxiety, through being scared. That puts you in a hypnotic state. Whether you realize it or not, that is a scientific fact. You can go research that. Then what they did is they came in and they gave you the solution. Oh, 6 feet apart. Oh, isolate yourself. Oh, you're not allowed to go see your loved ones. Oh, this and all of that. Separation, 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 which then did what? Especially to our children, traumatized our children. Our children were forced to go to school with masks on. You cannot see the facial emotions, which our brains are hardwired to communicate that way. It literally it literally mentally disabled a lot of people, not just children, adults too. And so what Miss Liz is speaking about here on how this tea opens the door for communication, for further connection, that is exactly what we need post scamdemic. That is exactly what needs to happen. There's my rant.
I love that. Plandemic is another word for what's happened. And we've seen it. Those who are awake and those who aren't just completely media programmed and channeled and brainwashed can see through this. And everyone's where they're at. For some people, it's easier to believe what they believe because they find it hard to believe some of this stuff. And absolutely, it is hard to believe some of this stuff. But I tell you what, once you take that red pill, there ain't no going back. Now you start questioning everything. And what we've seen through COVID, the biggest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich with the jab, right? We're seeing censorship of information on Facebook, on YouTube. The other day, we did our day 8 of the 11 Global Good News Challenge. It got a strike on YouTube. It got taken down off YouTube. Why? Because we mentioned our personal experiences of people having side effects from the jab. My dad got shingles from it. Now, we are just sharing our personal experiences. How does that go against community standards? Telling the truth. How does that go against community standards? It is outrageous. And people have had enough of it. They've had enough, and we're speaking up, and I don't care. They keep trying to shut us down. We just keep coming back. We've got BitChute, we've got Rumble, we've got other ways to get our message out there. And thank you for listening and for tuning in, because we need more people speaking their truth, because the powers that be, these elite, are trying to shut us down. And it's exactly why we need more tea parties. We need people coming together in community. We have people who are joining common law groups, who are finding out their rights, their God-given rights as human beings on the planet. We are not going to be controlled and censored and shut down like they've been trying to do for years. In fact, there's an uprising happening right now, and it's a very exciting time to be alive. That's how I look at it. What are your thoughts?
And it's called the Great Awakening, people.
The Great Awakening.
There's a lot of people, and I'm running into more and more and more people that are seeing it, that are acknowledge that there is a Great Awakening happening. And it's so good to see. But again, I just want to bring it all back. This is what we need again. And what they are trying to do is this. They are trying to divide, separate, and isolate. And that is the absolute opposite direction we need to be heading in. So, Miss Liz, I don't know if you realize just how deep your tea propped goes, and just how deeply that it is needed in today's day and age post scamdemic. It is very well needed. And this is so it's about connecting. It's about and the truth of the matter is, we were never actually in reality disconnected. We're always connected. Our brains just kind of go in opposite directions, and we're the ones that kind of create that. But in the actual real reality, we're never disconnected, ever. It is our brains and our beliefs that cause a little bit of the gap, if you will, is another good way of putting it. But it's about, yes, see something, say something. It's about making that effort to connect further, to go deeper, to have those good conversations, to encourage that person that might be going through something right now. Take a moment, say a kind word, take a moment and encourage that person, help that person maybe shift into a new belief that now serves them better. That's what it's about. Anyhow, there you go. That's my rant.
Yeah, love that, Ken. And Liz, it's time for your rant now.
Well, I actually love what Ken just said, because you know what, the 6 meters apart and the distancing, and a lot of families and relationships broke up because one would get the jab, one wouldn't get the jab. Then we had people that were married for 40 years that got divorced. Family members that were hugging 1 week before, and the week later they were attacking each other. There was so much division. And the only thing I can say is that the pandemic brought us closer together globally. If everyone was paying attention, it brought us closer globally because we became these podcast monsters that were
Yes.
loud and clear and coming and saying, we don't trust you guys. We don't want to see this stuff anymore. You know,
Yes.
we want to have tea. We want to have parties. We want to celebrate. You know, because it took away anniversaries, weddings, you know, funeral. People were dying by themselves. You know, family members were not even allowed to say goodbye to their loved ones. You know, like that's trauma.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
of the stuff that they did was treat us like prisoners. So
Mhm.
who do you think survived this pandemic the best? Was the prisoners, because they're living it. They know it, right? They're
Yeah.
isolated. They're away from their loved ones because they're locked up. They're 6 feet apart. They can't talk to each other. They can't support, you know. And that's what they did, is they put us all in prisons. And it was the people that was saying, you know what, I want out of my cell. I want a voice. I want to be able to come forward. And I love that you say that my tea is a prop, Ken, because that's what it is. It's not even about the beverage, guys. It's about what's in here. Start listening to the heart. The heart, follow your gut. If it's not feeling right and you don't care how good it sounds or how big of an opportunity it is for yourself or how many bucks it's going to make you, if your gut is saying, don't do it. It's a bad cup of tea. Don't drink it. It's like that apple Snow White's stepmom gave her, like the witch. Don't bite the apple, you know? Just go out and be your authentic self. And that's exactly why I wanted to come on this platform with Ken and Aldwyn, is because it's the truth. And that's a tea. That's the beginning of the tea, is the truth. You guys are setting an example and you're getting the attention because you're using your voices. You guys are serving strong tea. It's not even about me, guys. It's not even about the cup. It's about all of us. Every single one of us out here, we all have a story. We all have a voice. We all have a past, a present, and a future. If you pass, you still have a future because you're leaving a legacy. Leave a damn good legacy for everyone out there. Stop worrying about, oh, I made 6 figures. Okay, you made 6 figures, but how many lives did you actually change with your 6 figures? How many cars do you need to feel special? How many trips do you need to take to change someone's life? When you're going on a trip, are you going into the communities and starting to learn a little bit about the communities? Are you talking to the children, asking the children, how's your life? Like, what's going on? You know, when we travel, we seem to forget that there's a community that we can get to know. We're sitting at the beach. Talk to the people on the beach. Get to know people. And that's exactly what my tea does, is it gets me to know people, and it gets me to know different flavors and blends out there, because we all serve differently. And I don't want everyone liking me. That is the first thing, is don't go for everyone liking you, because if you go for everyone liking you, you're not being your authentic self.
Yes.
You need to be authentic. You need to be real and raw. You need to be your true cup of tea. Serve your tea. Come with different. Be creative. If somebody doesn't understand it, that's not your table to be at. Go to a different table. When you go to a party, you don't always sit at the same table. You go to different tables. You mingle. You connect. So some tables are, no, that table is for that group. You know, like when we used to have Christmas dinner, Christmas is coming, so Christmas on my mind. The kids were always at the little kid table and the adults were at the adult table. Why was that for? It was for the children to have a conversation and the adults to have a conversation. Now we have kids that are having adult conversations and adults having children conversations. Like you know, we really got to start just waking up. And I really love how Ken said it, you know, like it's a prop. Take my prop and enjoy it and spread it worldwide. Anywhere you are, you can say, what's your tea? You're not hurting anybody by saying, what's your tea? Like, you know, you might have some weird looks at you like, what the heck is that? You know, but it opens that conversation because you're actually giving that facial expression. You're saying like, I've been called a crazy lady. I've been called a tea lady who thinks she's changing the world. I can tell you I have changed the world because I have met incredible people, and I have met you guys because I'm sharing a cup of tea.
I love it. And you can really have a lot of fun with this tea. You know, it's interesting, as you were sharing, you know, tiger eats apples. I was actually thinking just before that, that tummy eats apples was what came to me, right? Tummy eats apples. And then you said tiger eats apples. I thought, oh my gosh, we're like psychic, connected through StreamYard, you know, so have a lot of fun with it. What is your tea? Let us know, those watching now, let us know, what is your tea? What are your 3 words for TEA? And what does it mean to you? You know, the thing is, it's all open to interpretation, no right or wrong. Have fun with it. And particularly now through COVID, a lot of people have social anxiety. They have no idea how to talk to each other. And so this is a great way to just, you know, start at the beginning. What is your tea? What is your tea? Let us know in the comments. What is your TEA? What are the 3 words for you? And I just love this. It's so beautiful, Liz. And you know, considering what you've been through and where you're at now, it's a great credit to you where you've come to and what you're standing for as well for this this connection. We've got Asham tea for Lawrence. What does TEA stand for you, Lawrence? What is the TEA? So transformation, education, action, for example. What are your 3 words from TEA today? And I mean, hey, what sort of tea do you like too? Asham tea. I've never actually tried Asham tea, but might look that one up. So what is your TEA? What's yours today, Liz? What's your TEA?
My tea today is truth, example, and attention.
Oh, I love that. Truth, example, attention. Love that. And Ken, have you got one at the top of your head?
I do. It's very similar to her original one that she placed out there. And I mean, I don't mean to be not original, but it just encompasses everything that I'm passionate about with what I do as a weight loss coach. So yes, mine is teach, educate, and awareness. You know, my passion is to teach people around, you know, to teach people how to sustainably lose weight and how to do that without a diet, you know, and to educate people around the misinformation and disinformation that is out there in the health and wellness and food industry. And then to build on awareness for people around the marketing lies that they constantly sell people out in the marketing place around food and the labeling and all that other stuff, to build the awareness, in a sense, to be able to give them the tools so that once they're done working with me as a coach, they now have the tools to take with them for the rest of their lives. They now have resources that they can take with them. They have other people that I have introduced them to through websites and articles that they can now go and reference. And, you know, they see something on the media and they're just like, I wonder what this reference has to say about that. Well, I wonder what this person has to. They now have the tools to where they can take the changes and new habits and transformation that they have created in their own lives from working with me. They can now take that with them for the rest of their lives. And I have enabled them to be able to be free from the deceptions of that industry, because the health, wellness, and food industry, especially the food industry, there is a lot of deception in that industry. And I am very passionate about freeing people from that industry and giving them the tools that will help them to not just lose the weight, but keep it off, and keep it off for good, like I have been able to do. I didn't necessarily mean to put a plug in there, but it's attached to me. Teaching, education, and awareness, that's a real big encompassing part of what I do.
Yeah, I love that. And for me, of course, tummy eats apples. And if I was to put a reason to it, well, I love my tummy. I've got a beautiful, voluptuous tummy. And I went to belly dancing last week. And I always say, well, I've got the belly for belly dancing. So I you know, I'd like to do some more belly dancing coming forward. So my tummy, embracing all of me. Tummy eats because I love eating. And apples is because they're good for you. Apples are an apple a day keeps the doctors away, they say. And so is tea. Tea is very good for you. We've got Facebook user. Whoops, words got jumbled up at the end of the paragraph. Technical issue. It should read revealing and exposing this episode to me. So the TA could be technical issue. It could be exposing, and it could be, what's the A? I can't see an A there. At.
But that's what I mean. It's so simple, right? And you have this community. Like you're going to this event after this podcast, Aldwyn. You can go around and start asking people that you're sitting with and communicating tonight, what is your tea? And they'll be like, what is going on here? Where is she going with this? See, the tea is not for me to have all to myself, guys. The tea was given to me by my Oma at the age of 4. It's the tea of life. Because at the age of 4, she told me to sit, reflect, recharge, and release. And that's what life is all about.
It's sort of also kind of on this line. So, as a Christian, one of our passions as Christians is to be able to show others the light of Christ, to be able to witness the gospel to others. Sometimes opening up that conversation can be really challenging. It's like, oh, how in the world do I do this? So in the same concept that Miss Liz is using with tea, I'm just giving just another example because there's going to be that awkward moment in the beginning. There is, such as a good opener for if you're trying to witness for Christ or open up the conversation is simply asking, and you're asking an assumption. You're automatically assuming. And it's basically saying something like, well, what church do you go to? Now, chances are they probably don't go to church, but you are simply using that as a way to open up the conversation. It's a door opener, same as tea. It's a little awkward in the beginning, but it's a door opener. Just another, I'm just kind of trying to give you guys another angle to look at it, to see it from.
Absolutely. And it's a good one for online dating, for those who are online dating. Now, I had one guy, he asked me the question once. The very first question he asked me is, do you want to F? Now, I thought to myself, now I have no idea who this guy is. And he might send that to 10 people and he might get one yes. But I would say to all the men and the women out there who want to get to know someone, try this one on. Do you want to F? Okay, you might have a bit more luck if you give that an opening line. Get to know someone before you jump straight into the sack. Okay, and if you do jump in the sack, then make sure you use contraception and be safe. Okay, so that's what I have to say about that.
In the words of a good friend of mine, and we also interviewed her on the show, Stacey Michaels. Great interview. But in her words, men, and yes, I am one, don't lead with your dick.
Yes, exactly. Don't be a dick and lead with your dick, okay? Just have a cup of tea instead, okay?
And you might find out something about the person as well, because words are hard to tell, especially if you've been bullied or abused. Your silence, right? So when you're asking somebody to give you words, it's hard. Like when you come on Tea Time, I ask a lot of questions that people are like, well, why does she need to know that? Like I ask your favorite color because color tells me a lot about a person too. And then I ask them to give me one word to describe themselves. And I get back sometimes on my emails, well, Miss Liz, that's a hard question. And I was like, I know, that's what I do is I serve hard tea. I serve hard questions. It's not easy because life is not easy. If I give it all, if I give you all sugar-coated stuff, am I actually making a difference? No, I'm not. I'm just putting a Band-Aid on everything, and that's not what I do. I take the Band-Aids off, and I'm like, let's pour it, and let's spill it, and let's make a real mess. And Ken, what I want to say to you is because you said, oh, mine is teaching education awareness, I want to take Miss Liz. Well, you know what? There's how many billions of people out there? If you all want to say teaching education awareness, go for it. Because you're all teaching education awareness in a different way. You're all going to spill it in a different way. They're words. They're not my words to hold on to. I can't say teaching education awareness. No, don't you dare use those words. Use the words. Express yourself. Have that communication. Start opening up and start getting that weird conversation going through a cup of tea. Your tea, not the beverage, but the tea that's within yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And we're going to be having a cup of tea shortly at my fashion parade with Safe Haven. I've got the girls waiting outside, so we'll get running in a second. Lawrence King, very quickly, Assam is a black tea from India. Very nice. T is talk, E equals every, and A, American. Nice. Australian or Asian. To understand the truth of the matter the world over. I love that, Lawrence. Very nice. I love that. So talk every American, Australian, Asian, understand the truth of the matter the world over. That is absolutely beautiful. Now it is time to wrap. So Miss Liz, where can people connect with you?
Well, keep it very simple. You can go to my website, www.misslizsteatimes.com. All of my platforms are there. You can find me on all social media platforms. If you just Google Miss Liz, you Google my first name, Elizabeth Jean Olivia Gagnon, you can find me. I'm all over. And if you're not finding me, you're not looking for me.
Yeah.
And so go there, linktree/Miss Liz's Tea Time. So that's linktr.ee/Miss MISS Liz LIZSTEA time TIME. And what's your favorite quote or motto that you like to live by, Liz?
My favorite quote is, "You say I can't do it, watch me, I'm going to."
Oh yeah, love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Liz. And Ken, how can people connect with you?
Well, the best way you can connect with me is through my Linktree. And the very first few links of my Linktree, one, you're going to see a link to my website in there. So you can go there. You can check out my website. You can find out all about me there. You can see a masterclass I have there. You can connect with my podcast there. The second link is to give you a deeper connection, where this gives me the opportunity to dive deep with you, find out more about you, and vice versa. And that is a link to my calendar. Book an appointment with me. Okay. I don't bite. I'm not going to try to hard sell you on anything. I might give you some pointers and tips on what direction to head into with maybe your health goals or weight loss. And then maybe discuss pricing with you. And if it's not for you, no pressure, no big deal. But at least give me the opportunity to get you to know you better and for you to get to know me better. That's my calendar link. And so, and then through that, yeah, the rest will be history. So just keeping it simple today, those two ways you can get to, you can connect with me.
Beautiful. And that website, there's Linktree, linktr.ee/Fat Fighter Ken, FATFIGHTER Ken, for those who are tuning in on the audio of this. And what's your favorite quote or motto to live by today, Ken?
Well, to kind of piggyback off of what Liz said, so my quote, and it's always here on my wall here, treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. That is by Donald J. Trump.
I love it. And Lawrence is sharing here, free your mind and your ass will follow is my quote of the day. Love it, Lawrence.
Yes.
Free your mind and the rest will follow. And your ass will follow. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you so much. And for those who want to connect with me, you'll find all my links at linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. We have the Step Up, Speak Up Challenge. We have it every day. We have the Global Good News Challenge every month. And you can do your 11-day one this month up until the end of November. You can start your 11-day challenge. Very simple live video challenge, sharing your name, what you do, 3 things you're grateful for, and a piece of good news. It could be that you were tuning in today to this. Could be your good news. And then hashtag Global Good News Challenge. We'll share it out to thousands of people. You can win prizes. All the details are at the top of the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page, which is in my Linktree. And you'll see the Step Up, Speak Up Challenge in there. Also, I've got a Present with Power Masterclass coming up with Elizabeth King, who's from America originally, based in Berlin. She's been an opera singer for 30 years. We're doing a 4-hour masterclass online, and you can check that out as well. All the links are there in the Linktree and much more. Of course, if you want to be seen, heard, and known, want some publicity and mass media exposure, then book in a calendar, book in through the calendar there, a free connection and clarity call with me, and we can chat about how to get you out to more people. And my quote is by Gandhi: be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the change you wish to see in the world. And this one here, you are awesome and a gift to the world. To remind you, you are awesome and a gift to the world. See some of you over at Safe Haven at Logan Hyperdome from 3 till 6 p.m. today for our amazing fundraiser event over there. Thank you so much, Miss Liz, for joining us today. Thank you, Ken, my amazing co-host. Remember to like our Total Truth Show page if you haven't already on Facebook. Stay connected. Follow us on Spotify, on all the places. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a fantastic day or night wherever you are in the world. And thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you again next time.